And there we are. We're back.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We are here with Karisa today and Leslie. And first of all, I want to acknowledge that it's my fault that we haven't been here. So been a little up and down. September I wasn't well. October I was gone, and November.
I don't know what our excuse was
I
for November.
I don't think we
November
really
was
have a valid excuse, but we're here now. That's all that matters. So we are here today because we are going to be talking about past life regression. So as many of you who follow the store know that Leslie offers past life regression.
Past life regression, it's actually a spiritual life regression. Past life is just part of it. But the main juxt of it is going back to the spirit side and talking to your higher self about the lessons and the purposes in those lifetimes that you were shown. And then coming in with your up to 25 questions, anything that you want to know about yourself, your family, your health, your job, anything. Relationships, why you're repeating the same things, why does this keep happening to me? It's your fault.
It's always
you. It's always you.
Yeah.
But you get answers.
You do. So, and the reason we're here is we're going to go over Karisa's session, and she's going to give a little insight as to how that session took place.
Yeah. So we had our session about a month ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, November.
Yeah. Once again, November.
I was busy.
Where did November go?
We were all doing something different in November.
Yeah. But, it was my first past life regression, and I didn't really know what to expect. And, Leslie put me in this, hypnosis state, and it took a little bit to settle in because my mind is pretty stubborn, but it finally dissipated, my conscious mind, and then the unconscious, I think. That's the part that comes out and speaks to you, the higher self part. I was brought back to 2 different lifetimes. The first lifetime was like an 1800s scene, and it looked like a little pioneer village. It was very gloomy, and I believe I was a witch in that lifetime. That's what it appered to be. I was wearing this black long dress, kind of like a cloak looking thing.
You were a healer.
I was a
too.
healer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being in this wooden structure that seemed like a medical center, something like that. And I was a healer helping people with herbal medicines, whatnot. And I recall seeing witches, I believe, burned at the stake. And in the beginning, I was like, am I just making this shit up? I don't know if I'm just visualizing this as a random thing, or if this actually was a past life. But yeah, that was interesting. And then I remember fleeing from the town I was in because I think I was a target. People were out to get me. And so
the man with the top hat was rounding up people that were, practicing or accused of practicing witchcraft, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you were in that lifetime with a cat.
I was.
You had a cat.
I was a friend.
Yeah.
But I'm asking questions the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're asking questions the whole time, and then my higher self comes and speaks. So it's not my conscious self speaking; it's this other entity of me speaking. And then that was the main gist of that.
Yeah, what were your lessons and purposes in that lifetime? Do you remember? To heal, I remember it was about healing.
Mm-hmm. Healing, and I'm still learning from both both of the past lives, what the purpose of me going back to those lives were.
That's what I wondered. I wondered why those 2.
Yeah.
So those 2 have to be significant.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I'll have to listen back to the tape because usually one of the questions I ask when you're back in spirit on the spirit side is you could have brought forth any lifetimes for her to see why was the first lifetime significant for her, and then when we get to the second one. So
yeah, I believe my answer to that was empowerment. it was like to empower myself.
Okay.
So some form of empowerment. And I think owning my gifts, as a healer, and not being afraid to come out and share myself, share my gifts. I think that was one of the big lessons. Because in this life, I do have like this fear of being seen, and so I wonder what that could be about. And so it could be from like having to hide myself in a previous life.
You did. You had to, by some sort of divine twist, you weren't where you were supposed to be, so the man with the top hat couldn't come round you up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So it was like life or death situation back then, whereas now in this life,
and you had to leave. You had to leave the town.
Yeah, I had to flee. So, and I remember like hiding behind a bush and then having to flee somewhere. Didn't know where. I was just going somewhere. But then I remember dying like the last day of that life. You go to
your last day.
Yes, we go to our last day, and I was sitting on this like lazy boy looking chair, and there was a boy and a girl sitting around me and playing, and it was peaceful. So I believe I went peacefully in that life. I think it might have been like a family friend, or I just remember there being like a woman who was like the mother of the kids. She had red hair, and then the kids had red hair as well. So yeah,
interesting.
It was very very interesting. And so then yes, we go to the next life, and Leslie puts you up on a cloud, and then you hover and go back to another life. And I entered this new life as a naked, youthful woman standing.
I did not know where we were going with this. My first thought was shipwreck, because she was looking out the ocean.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't at all. You and I both had no idea until like a week later or so.
Yeah. So then I said, I took you to an important day in that lifetime. And then what did you look like?
I looked like a seal. I remember very vividly. Like I was this blue, I guess it was like a bluish gray seal, and what seemed to be a mermaid tail at the time, but it was really just a tail.
First you said you were blue with a tail, so my mind went mermaid. And you're like, no, my face looks like a seal.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so were you a seal or were you a mermaid? Which one?
She was a
seal.
A selkie.
Yeah.
And what's a selkie?
Selkie. But yeah, before
we didn't know that.
Yeah.
Neither of us
sorry,
had
we're jumping
heard.
ahead so before. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just like, no,
there's a lot. I know. So yeah, when I was like, first I was this like youthful woman. I felt like really beautiful, lively, naked, long red hair. Kind of felt like a little mermaid when she just like turned human. And then next scene, I'm a seal with a mermaid tail. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely making this shit up. Like, this is not real. So later on, we were speaking with a friend, and I was telling her about the experience, and she said, "Oh, you were a selkie." And I was like, what? We both were like, what's a selkie? And essentially it's of like Irish folklore, and it's a seal who has the ability to turn into a woman, or it could be also a male, but essentially they can turn into humans. And I think the lore is, if I'm saying this correctly, because usually when they come out as humans, they're like immaculate, like they're beautiful, whatever. They catch the eye.
They have to shed their seal skin.
Yeah.
And the other part of the folklore is, since they're so beautiful, the men are attracted to them and they want to keep them, so they steal their skin so they can't go back to the water.
Yeah.
They can't go back
home.
They're prisoners.
Yeah. So only until the like woman finds her skin, then she can flee.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And so it's there were some stories where like the woman had kids with the husband, and
she just wants to go back to
she
the
always
sea.
So it was
desires
like
to see.
Aquaman.
Aquawoman.
Essentially, I was Aquawoman in a past life.
So what happened? So did you find your skin, or what happened?
I think you were scared to.
Yeah, I was scared to go back.
Back to the ocean?
No, back to
being a human.
The human form, because
okay.
they knew that if that happened, they basically imprisoned.
So What happened?
So I didn't get any like vision of me being married or me having family or anything like that. The only scene of me being a human was like that first scene when I was just like
Okay.
levitating essentially over this like mass like ocean.
Okay.
And then Leslie had asked me, well, why don't you go back? Because I was saying I'm a seal. I don't like being a seal. I feel ugly as a seal. I remember feeling like a reject. I didn't feel great, and I wanted to be something else. And so Leslie was like, well, why don't you go back to the human world and be like a human? And I was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And so perhaps there was like I maybe almost got caught and almost got my my skills taken, and then I ran back into the ocean, and I don't know. Maybe I'll get some insights randomly.
So how do you think that particular lifetime affects this one?
This one. So once again, going back to empowerment,
Okay.
Because I have this, I guess, like wound of like not seeing myself or seeing my worth or like feeling like a reject from society, or like in friend groups, and just wanting to be something else than what I am. So
Okay.
I definitely have that as like trauma and a wound. And so I can totally relate to that life of like feeling like a reject and not wanting to be in this skin and wanting to be something else. So it's like, okay, owning yourself, you know, and owning this is it. And like, this is what you get. And yeah, being okay with that.
Right. Okay.
You also saw your parents
Get
get eaten
by a shark.
Yeah, that was a little traumatic.
Yeah. And that kind of makes sense because I'm afraid of like sharks, and if I can't see the bottom of the ocean, I won't swim in it. So I get very anxious when I'm in a large body of water. So yeah, and I believe my last day I was an anchor got me essentially, so I was just like the anchor killed me.
Pierced, yeah,
I was
pierced
wow.
her.
So yeah,
Very interesting.
Really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And then you went back to spirit, and we went through the purposes and the lessons, and we did the body scan, the scan of the body. So in your session, this is really good if you're dealing with any sort of health issue, because what the higher self will do will scan your body, and where it can help you, it will. And when it can't help you is usually because you set yourself up for some sort of lesson from your illness or your disease. But if it's something that your body can or your higher self can do, it will. It wants to help you. But it's kind of a tough love kind of thing when it can't step in. But it will if it can. So if you're dealing with anything, I highly recommend it. So you get a body scan. Where did it work on your body?
I believe it was my right hip because I asked.
Oh, that's
why
right.
It's so tight.
And it gives you suggestions of what to do. You need to move more, dance. I think.
Dance, stretch, move it around. But when you said the whole tough love with your higher self, I definitely feel that with my higher self, because even like in the session, she was kind of like standoffish. She didn't want to give the whole answer, but she gave like, I don't know, like riddles to my questions.
Yeah.
It's like, figure it out.
It does get frustrating because the higher self will say, she knows this.
That's what I found very interesting is that, you know, I know we all have a higher self. So I looked at it like, I thought we were a team. Why is she saying she? I was like, what about we?
Yeah, right.
No. I was like, okay, what do you mean I'm by myself? You know, it was, I found that very interesting. I thought that it would be like we, us, but no, it was she.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes it's us, you know?
Yeah, I didn't get that. I got all she.
Well, yeah.
That I remember.
With the, like, when I ask questions, it's like, I guess that's like when I'm on my own, you know? Like, look within. Yeah. Meditate.
Yeah, because that's, they're not going to give you all the answers to the test.
Well, we have free will.
Yes.
I picked up in that, in mine, it was almost like they didn't want to say anything because there is free will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the fork in the road. We can't tell you what to do. It's free will. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Right.
So I kind of looked at that
Yeah.
like, okay, you're putting the ball back in my court again. And here
Are you
I am.
Are you gonna trust?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or are you?
Well, I want you to tell me what I'm supposed to do
Right?
so I get it right.
But you don't learn the lessons that way.
Well, I would learn the lesson if you told me what to do, and I would be like, okay, see, you told me not to go that way. I learned a lesson. I listened to you, and I went that way.
Exactly. But no. My hairstyle's very sassy. She's like, no, you got it.
It's like you.
It's like you.
Well, it's also like your child. Sometimes your
I
kid
tell my
has
kids
to
what
figure
to
it. Oh, well, your kid has to figure it out, or they're not. They're going to be dependent on you.
Yeah.
All the time. They have to be independent. So your higher self wants you to be independent, and it helps you in giving you little nudges and clues, which is your intuition. It just depends if you choose to listen or not.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
Got
perspective.
it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, Angie did it too. So
Yes, I did it too. Yes,
How was your
I was like,
experience?
I felt like I was like, she's this and she's that. And I was like, okay, what about me? Where are you at in this? 'Cause
Yeah.
you just kind of throw me out in the wind and figure it out.
Right?
It's okay. You're right. You're absolutely right, though. But you just try and direct your kids in. I know our
the
guides.
most loving way you
Yeah,
can,
and I know our
but
guides-
eventually they got to do it themselves.
Our guides do that too. They try their best, just like we do our kids, to try and point them in the right direction. And sometimes they go in a different way, and you just have to say,
and
oh,
that's
well.
free will.
Yeah. Right. So
Yeah.
Good. So are you working? So what you got out of the session, are you working on those aspects of yourself that need healing and help and
Definitely.
okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the point of it. I mean, I'm thinking if you go through and you do this session, what are you going to do with it afterwards?
Yeah, with all the information you get.
Right, because it's a lot of information.
for sure.
Yeah.
It is. It is a lot. That's why you listen. It's recorded. I record it, and you record it. I've got some fancy new microphones now. But and you re-listen to your recording because you're going to get something out of it each and every time.
Yeah.
And something else may trigger something else that you'll remember or you had forgotten. And so it is good to re-listen to your recording, even though you think you know it all, because you could pop in something new that you had forgotten,
Right.
or you get a new inspiration.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
very beneficial thing to do for yourself.
Yeah, if you want to know
Especially
why you are
if-
the way you are.
Especially if you're repeating things over and over.
Pattern.
Why do I pick this sort of person in my life for a partner, or
The same
or
behaviors.
why can't I seem to hang on to money? Why? What's my relationship with money? Why is it up and down? Why is my health so poor? Things like that.
Yeah. And even if you go over this life and you can pinpoint the traumas and the reasons why you are the way you are, but you still keep reacting in a certain way or you keep attracting the same things, it's like, okay, but I'm aware of this life and I thought I've reconciled things, but there's still something deeper. Then the past life regression is good because then you can go back to past lives and see, okay, where has my soul been that is still holding on to these soul ties, essentially. So then it gives you the opportunity to cut past life ties in a way.
Yeah. Once you have an awareness of what's going on, then you can change your reaction and your behavior. Because that's all you can do. You can only change yourself and your reaction to a circumstance.
So what do you recommend? So we've done the past life regression session. So do we do it again?
You can do it again if you were interested in getting deeper.
Well, I'm just wondering if someone has a pattern that they can't seem to break that cycle. Is there more that we need to know? Is there something more that we need to learn about ourselves?
That would be an individual thing, and they would have to ask themselves that question.
Right.
Because only they know what's going on inside them.
Right. Because I looked at therapy. Do you go back for more appointments? Do you just get what you got and try and figure it out for yourself after that?
Usually one should suffice.
Okay.
But I know I've listened to countless hours and hours and hours of sessions of past life regression and QHHT sessions. And there's people that have had multiple.
They probably have a lot of trauma.
Yes, especially if you set yourself up for a lot of lessons in this lifetime. We would look at maybe an individual like that and said, wow, they've had a really hard life. They've had it really rough. And that's just, they've packed a lot into their lifetime. And sometimes we call them resting lifetimes. And sometimes those people that, everything kind of just goes their way, and things are good. They're married, they have a couple kids, they have a job, and
they have no issues.
They have, and
happy campers.
Yeah, we call that a resting life because the one before may have been really, yeah. So they need that ease in this particular lifetime to counterbalance that, so they can get their bearings.
Okay. So how does someone book a session with you? What do they do? If someone's listening to this and they say, you know what, I need a little more information, do they reach out to you? Yeah. What do you want them to do?
They can call me or text me at 951-818-7309, or you can pop into the shop. Consultation's free if you just want to talk. We do go over what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is all self-hypnosis. You have to agree to go under, to relax. If you don't, you'll hear people say, well, I can't be hypnotized. You're right. You just told me you couldn't. So you're not going to be able to. Okay. You have to trust your practitioner, and you have to really want this to happen.
Right.
And as you both know, it's a gentle guided meditation. There's no tricks of the hand. There's no
you're not going to quack like a duck.
No, you're not going to quack like a duck or bark like a dog. Like I said, everything's recorded. I'm not putting suggestions
could
in
you
there.
Could you put suggestions if
yes.
someone's like wanted to quit smoking?
Yes, I did have a stop smoking section.
So you can do that.
Yes, we use very vivid, gross imagery of smoking.
Okay.
That'll help you.
So that's another good option though. If someone's looking to get rid of a bad habit, they could come in. Okay, and you plant that seed and there you go.
Give them imagery.
They think of that imagery and they're like, ugh.
Right.
Like drinking dirty ash cigarette water.
Ew.
Yummy.
Wading through it. And then looking at all the butts over your lifetime. And then we do visuals of what your body might look like in 10 years if you continue to smoke.
And what your face will look like. Look like a Shar-Pei. Yeah.
And that's just on the outside.
Right.
Think of all the damage on the inside, so we do all that too. But,
okay, so that's how they would get a hold of you and just book a session, so they could come in and just kind of get a consultation, which is free. And then if you decide you want a session, then you would go from there.
Yeah, and we're just putting that left brain, what you think of as yourself, it just recedes into the background, and your subconscious, your higher self, can step forward to help you out.
All right. Well, good. It's good to know. So you could come into the shop and talk to Leslie, schedule your consultation, and then your session.
Yeah, each session is around 3 hours with everything, because you'll come in and we have a chat. It's called a pre-talk, and we'll go over everything again and your questions. I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking, and then I might offer some suggestions of questions that you might want to throw in there. And then sometimes when I'm asking the questions, depending on what your higher self answer is, that might lead to more questions as well.
Right.
So I just try to pull as much information for you as I can.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's an awesome experience. Most definitely.
It is really interesting.
Yeah, it is. So I had a good one. But anyway, anything anybody else wants to add to this conversation?
Just when you were saying, like, what else can you do? Like, do you go for another session?
Yeah.
What I did was, like, meditate on it. So with the information that we gathered, now, like in my own time, I could like go back to the lifetimes, or I can like meditate and ask like my higher self and kind of do my own digging.
Right.
So, and do like some more self-reflection on my own, and just have that like,
Because you've been there before, so you
Mhm.
know the feeling of what that feels like,
Right.
yeah.
and you just have to trust the answer that you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I do recommend is that you have at least a full day to go and process it.
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of running around that next day, and my mind was like thinking about my session, and I really should have been sitting by myself and just kind of reflecting and journaling and things like that. So that's something I wish I would have not had anything to do the next day.
Yeah.
But
it's a lot.
Don't have things
it is a lot.
planned.
It's a lot, right? And you just want to kind of sit with it for a little bit, you know, and just kind of go over what you've learned about yourself and see what you could do. And yeah, so that's the only thing that I would recommend. It's almost like,
journaling is a great idea.
It's almost like when you come in for a Reiki session, you shouldn't be like getting ready to go back to work. If
I was
you
gonna
don't have
say
to,
like Reiki,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, you just go and you let the body process, you know.
Yeah, because some people, when they come out of hypnosis, it could be a little disorienting. You might be a little dizzy. You might need extra water that day. You're just in a different state, and your body's not used to being in that state. It's nothing harmful, and it's not lasting.
And you're a bit more sensitive in that state too, like coming out. You're more. Like,
I went to the grocery store after mine, and I felt like I was in a time warp. Like I couldn't, like I was invisible. I moved through the grocery store, and my head was pounding, and I felt like no one could see me, but I could see everyone else, and I was like, I need to go home. I felt really funky, like So
that can happen.
So I was like, So I just thought I felt like I was floating around the grocery store. No one could see me. I was like, I got a really bad headache.
Go stand.
I was like, okay. It was like really weird, but I felt really off.
Yeah.
But it went away, right?
Yeah, after a couple hours. But you know, I felt like I should not have come here.
Yeah,
so,
rest afterwards.
Right.
Definitely.
So that's the only thing I would recommend if possible. Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. So, like you said, if you want to schedule a session, contact Leslie. And what's your Facebook and your Instagram?
Instagram is at The Healing Hand Holistic, and on Facebook it's The Healing Hand Holistic Wellness. And they can find me through the shop as well.
But if they wanted to go and read the post, because
I think I just put it up today.
She'll post it again. That way you could kind of get read a little description.
So, But just if you're interested in finding out more about yourself,
but you have to want to find out about yourself.
Because you think about it, most of your self is in spirit. Just a little portion of us is in this physical human form, but most of us is up there.
Well,
and we're just doing the best we can in our human body.
Navigating through this world.
But this is a tool that can help you navigate the waters just a little bit easier. So,
alrighty. Well, we wish you a happy holidays.
Yes.
We're going to hopefully get back on track and start doing these every week like we were before. So I apologize for not doing it. So anyway, thank you again. Thank you, Leslie, for offering this amazing service to all of us.
Yes,
helping us heal. Thank you for sharing.
Very cool.
It was awesome. It was.
Very cool.
Thank you so much. We're going to log off here, and thanks again.
Holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.